vision or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Marge Lauber, and for the next hour I'll be reading from the current issues of the Niagara Gazette and the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. And the first one we have, first issue, is from Wednesday, June 24th. And it seems they're patching things up. The contractor's close to completing work at Boulevard Car Wash. Finally, huh? Motorists traveling through the 7900 block of Niagara Falls Boulevard should get a much smoother ride in the next few days. Crews working on repairing the state roadway in front of the Delta Sonic Plaza say they are close to completing the project. The work, which began on June 15th, was due to be finished before the July 4th holiday weekend. They are replacing State Road in front of the driveways of the Delta Sonic Car Wash and convenience store at 7920 Niagara Falls Boulevard with concrete. New York State Department of Transportation spokesperson Ryan Whalen said, "We have been working with Benderson Development, the owner and who is the operator and owner of Delta Sonic, on a number of these sites. A similar project was just recently completed at a Delta Sonic Plaza on Transit Road in Clarence. The projects are not permitted by the state DOT to reinforce the entrances in front of the 5 Delta Sonic locations in western New York. They are being permitted, During the spring falls, the Department of Public Works employees placed rough road signs in front of the local Delta Sonic driveways where the Niagara Falls Boulevard pavement was broken up." Wow. So in other news, Main Street is for everyone. Downtown revitalization efforts move forward to design team meets with residents. It has a snappy new slogan, and some more details are emerging around plans tied to streetscape improvements for Niagara Falls downtown redevelopment initiative. Consultants working on the project helped their second in a series of community presentations and listing events on Tuesday evening at LaSalle Preparatory School. They unveiled, what appears to be the project's goal, titled "Main Street is for Everyone." As he had at an earlier public presentation, James Fruccitti, a landscape architect with the project's design firm Fisher Associates, told those in attendance that the DRI is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to reimagine Main Street, calling public input of the project essential. He said the initiative aims to serve both Falls residents and visitors. It looks to bring people to the downtown core, he said. He listed goals of strengthening access to public places, promoting tourism, and attracting both businesses and residents into the area by making it a destination. And in other news, they have Food Truck Thursdays. It's going to be at the train station. They have Steaksters, Fat Bob's Barbecue, and Code and Parisi kickoff summer schedule. So the Food Truck Thursdays at the Niagara Falls train station at 825 Depot Avenue West. It began serving last week, and run from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. through August 27th. So this year's schedule on Thursday, Steaksters and Fat Bob's Barbecue with jazz duo Custody and Parisi. On July 2nd, you have Layers handcrafted sandwiches with High Water. July 9th is the Sandwich Mother and Rolling Cannoli with Holton. July 16th, the Sandwich Mother with Custody and Parisi. On July 23rd, there's Layers handcrafted sandwiches and Dirty Bird chicken and waffles with Custody and Parisi, the singers. August 6th, Smash Roll and the Rolling Cannoli with Will Holton. On August 13th, there's Layers handcrafted sandwiches and Steaksters with Custody and Parisi. Then August 20th, Smash Roll and Dirty Bird chicken and waffles with High Water. Then August 27th, there's Fat Bob's Barbecue and the Sandwich Mother with High Water. So those are what's going to be going on at the Food Truck Thursdays at the train station. Did you know there was a vacant home that was on fire on 8th Street? And that's under investigation. So Niagara Falls police detectives and fire investigators are trying to determine the cause of a Monday night fire on 8th Street that damaged 2 vacant homes. Emergency crews responded to the 700 block of 8th Street around 8 p.m. for reports of a structure fire. Police arrived on scene first and reported heavy fire at 746 8th Street, and that the fire was spreading to the structure next door at 742 8th Street. At the 746 address, firefighters initially began defensive operations, utilizing multiple handlines, a deck gun, and the aerial master stream to knock down the bulk of the fire. Once fire conditions improved, firefighters entered the building to begin extinguishing any remaining flames. At the 742 address, firefighters began an interior attack of the fire and were able to ultimately extinguish both. Both structures were reported as abandoned. However, multiple neighbors reported individuals had been observed going in and out of the house. And the cause of the fire is under investigation. I think they call them squatters. You know, they have people that go, young people especially, and they find abandoned homes and they live in them. So we have some obituaries in this issue. There was a Sharon Benigo. She was 76 from Niagara Falls. She passed away on June 23rd. And Angela Gedeon, 91, of Niagara Falls. She passed away on June 21st. And in brief, there's a woman who gets probation for a gun in a diaper bag. Wow. A woman who was caught with an illegal loaded handgun in a diaper bag at Key Bank Arena in Buffalo in 2024 was sentenced to probation on Tuesday. Tanisha Cullum, 34, of Rochester, was sentenced Tuesday before Erie County Judge James Berganesi of 3 years of probation. On March 23, 24, at approximately 7:10 p.m., security officers and members of the Erie County Sheriff's Office found an illegal loaded handgun inside a diaper bag at the Key Bank Center after it was placed through the X-ray scanner ahead of the entrance to a circus event at the arena. Now, in my opinion, if you're going to put a gun inside a diaper bag and it's got to go through X-ray scanner, don't you think they would see it? I mean, why would you do that? So anyway, in April 2025, Cullum pleaded guilty to one count of second-degree attempted criminal possession of a weapon. She was placed on 1 year of interim probation while pending sentence. Erie County District Attorney Michael Kane commended the Key Bank Center security officers and members of the Erie County Sheriff's Department for the work in this investigation. The case was prosecuted by Assistant District Attorney Kristen Fisher of the Felony Trials Bureau, consortium consisting of the foregoing. Programming and her service must be provided with Niagara County. Huh. Well, there you go. My goodness. So we have some Dear Anne's, like a Dear Abby type of thing. Dear Annie, I am heartbroken over my daughter-in-law's sudden and painful change in behavior since the birth of our grandson a year ago. Before the baby was born, we had a warm relationship. For 4 years, she was sweet, kind, and very much part of our large, extended family. She joined family trips, holidays, and even our happy birthday text chains. We truly believe she felt interested in us. Since giving birth, however, she has almost completely cut off communications. She rarely answers texts or phone calls. We have offered to drop off meals, babysit so she can get her hair and nails done, or help in any way we can, and we are lucky to receive a brief no thank you. She does not acknowledge birthday gifts or gifts for our grandson. Recently, my husband dropped off a large toy at their home. She did not say hello or even make eye contact. Our son seemed to overcompensate with a big thank you and a hug, which only made us feel more worried. My husband and I are devastated. We lie awake at night wondering what happened. Our greatest fear is that she is slowly cutting us off because she plans to leave our son, and that one day he may not live with his child. I have searched online and found terms such as daughter-in-law syndrome and gatekeeper syndrome. I wonder whether this could be related to postpartum issues, breastfeeding for a full year, or trauma from her childhood. I know I may be grasping for explanation, but we feel lost and desperate for guidance. How do we handle these things without making things worse, or losing our relationship with our grandson? So Annie says, Dear heartbroken grandmother, your hurt is understandable, but tread gently. Your daughter-in-law may be struggling with postpartum depression, anxiety, or simply the enormous physical and emotional shift of becoming a mother. A year of nursing, sleep loss, and identity change can even make the sweetest person seem distant. They said calling her behavior a syndrome is very judgmental, and it will not bring her closer. Labels make people feel studied, not loved. Instead of diagnosing her, try supporting her. Send her warm messages like, "We love you, we respect your space, and we are here whenever you're ready, no pressure." And then mean it. Do not make your son choose sides, and do not assume she is planning to leave him. Be steady, kind, and patient. Right now, the best way back into her life may be to stop knocking so loudly on her door. There you go. And there's this woman called Mary Hunt, and she's got a column that's Everyday Cheapskate. And she says, have you ever figured how many hours you'll have to work to pay for the new car of your dreams or fancy restaurant meals? Perhaps you should. So she starts with today's clever tips. Curb the urge. My husband and I have finally found a way to curb our runaway spending. When we see something we want, eating out, new vehicle, clothing, etc., we immediately calculate how many hours we would have to work to pay for it. Here's an example. Car payment of $400 per month divided by $25 per hour, which would bring home pay, equals 16 hours. That means we'd have to work 2 days to make one car payment. Not too bad for driving a new vehicle. Dinner out, $40, divided by $25 per hour equals 1.6 hours. So, this means we'd have to work longer than it takes us to actually eat this meal. Not a good investment. This has been the only way we have found to calculate the true cost of goods and to control our spending. A magnetic business card, like the ones you receive from local realtors and pizza deliveries, laid magnetic side up, is perfect for keeping straight pins from rolling off the table and onto the floor. And cereal labeling. I keep my cereal in clear plastic food containers to preserve freshness. Because we keep several varieties on hand, I cut out the front of the box and put it inside the containers so we can see at a glance which cereal's inside. Well, that's a good idea. And then you can buy in seasons. You can buy lemons in the winter when they're cheap. Citrus from California, Texas, Florida, and Arizona come into season in January and linger in early summer. And then freeze the juice in ice cube trays, and one ice cube section equals about 1 tablespoon of juice. Well, that's pretty cool. And instead of trying to figure out how and where to store the artwork my children bring home from school, I take a picture of my children holding the picture or object. I can then put it in their scrapbook for everyone to enjoy. This takes care of the constant battle of where to put these items without taking over my limited storage. So, some time ago, when making chocolate chip cookies, I used broken pretzels as a substitute for nuts. The pretzels provided the crunch of nuts for a fraction of the cost and are a perfect alternative for those who are allergic to nuts. By the way, I'm nuts about your column. Thank you for all you do, as Cheryl Maryland said. Huh. Pretty cool. So, Army National Band is performing free patriotic concerts. New York's 42nd Infantry Division Rainbow Band will perform in the Falls in Lewiston. Let's see. When are they going to be playing next? It doesn't say what days. Huh. They're going to be playing from Thursday to July 4th, so from today to the 4th. So the New York Army National Guard's 42nd Infantry Division Rainbow Band will mark the 250th anniversary of American independence with 8 patriotic concerts being held across New York. 2 of the shows will take place in the Falls on Sunday and Lewiston on Monday. The 90-minute concerts of the 23rd Band feature patriotic marches like the Stars and Stripes Forever and Over There. Okay, and then in another news, there was a teen on an ATV that was injured in the Falls crash. 2 teens were injured Tuesday after the ATV they were riding on collided with a vehicle at 15th Street and Linwood Avenue in the city. Falls police said the teens, a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old, were taken to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries after the crash, which occurred about 2:40 p.m. on Tuesday. A preliminary investigation determined that the ATV was being operated east on Linwood when it collided with the front driver's side of a vehicle traveling north on 15th Street. Officers said the vehicle did not have a stop sign at the intersection and had the right of way. They also know that the ATVs are illegal to operate in the city. In Buffalo, too, they're illegal. So there's a plan in another news to sell artifacts from the Titanic, and it's facing opposition. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Niagara Gazette on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. So anyhow, a plan to auction more than 100 artifacts salvaged from the wreckage of the Titanic, including personal belongings, currency, kitchen items, and decor, is facing pushback from the U.S. government, according to newly unsealed court documents. The RMS Titanic Incorporated, the company that owns exclusive salvage rights to the famous wreck in the North Atlantic, wants to sell the artifacts for the first time, despite previous agreements to only display them at museums and traveling exhibitions. Georgia-based RMS Titanic proposed auctioning the artifacts and displaying them on global tour in 4 cities, although these locations haven't been publicly revealed. Court documents filed in the U.S. reference the company's plan to sell artifacts, including a bronze cherub, a necklace of gold nuggets, and a heart-shaped pennant. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration represents U.S. interests and oversight in the wreck site. The agency contends such a sale would violate RMS Titanic's legal obligations to the site. According to documents, a judge ordered unsealed earlier this month. In arguing that the auction should be prohibited, the government wrote that the company does not seek the court's approval, does not believe that approval is required, and asserts that it is not restricted in its ability to sell the artifacts. Representatives for RMS Titanic did not respond to requests for comment Monday, as attorneys previously said in a federal court filing that the proposed auction arrangement wouldn't violate existing court orders and agreements about the artifacts. And then in other news, there's a judge who rules against the plan to stop use of SNAP on candy, sugar, and drinks. SNAP is food stamps. So the federal government can't block benefits from the nation's largest food aid program from being used to buy candy, soda, and other sugary drinks. Monday's ruling scuttles restrictions now in place or planned for the federally funded and state-run Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program in 23 states. President Donald Trump's administration has not said whether it will appeal to a higher court. U.S. District Judge Amy Berman Jackson, who sits in Washington and was nominated to the bench by the former President Barack Obama, said in her opinions that the ruling was because the federal government did not follow its own definition of food. She said it wasn't a comment on whether the restrictions are a good idea. The federal defendants and the states may have a genuine desire to improve the health of SNAP households by encouraging healthy choices at the store. They can take lawful steps to meet these goals, she wrote, but what they cannot do is violate the law and their own regulations along the way. So the restrictions are part of the Make America Healthy Again campaign. Okay, now let's move on to our next issue. So there's 3 little hens baking companies planning Youngstown space are ready to roost. Youngstown will soon get a new bakery set up by a local favorite of the farmers market scene. Owners of the 3 Little Hens Baking Company are working to open a brick-and-mortar location by August 1st. It won't be just a local bakery, but a place for special events where people can learn how to make their own food. I've never wanted a traditional retail bakery, and I still don't, said owner Rachel Gilbert, who also owns and manages the Lewiston Artisan Farmers Market. She said Gilbert had been baking professionally for the past 18 years, even teaching courses at the Niagara Falls Culinary Institute for 7 years, as well as at Lewiston Porter Schools for the past 3 years, and their community education department. The name 3 Little Hens comes from her 3 daughters, Ivy, Penelope, and Mauve. The bakery was started out of her home in 2020 when Mauve was only 6 weeks old. Gilbert started participating in the Lewiston Farmers Market and a part-time vendor in 2020. eventually acquiring the whole market in 23. So in the past 3 seasons since she took it over, the market has grown to 30 to 40 weekly vendors, with attendance around 1,500 customers during the regular Saturday schedule from June to October. Pretty good. So, with Amazon and other news in town, Niagara gets grant for a new fire truck. In the town of Niagara, the need has never been greater. The cost has probably but never been higher. But the volunteers of the town of Niagara Active Hose Fire Company are about to get a brand new state-of-the-art hook and ladder truck thanks to a $2 million grant from the state of New York. It was a need because the new Amazon Fulfillment Center building will be the tallest in the town. Town of Niagara Supervisor Sylvia Virtuoso said, "It's 5 stories tall, and the fire company's current ladder truck doesn't reach the roof." So Niagara Activity's current ladder truck, which came into service in 1995, can rise to 75 feet in the air, while the Amazon building tops out at 103 feet. "We are in desperate need of this," said Active Hose Fire Company President Joshua Legend. "It has been a concern of ours how we will fund the purchase of a new fire truck. Our main concern is the current ladder truck's reach capability and being able to rescue people in the event of a fire." So Virtuoso said the cost of the new piece of fire apparatus was more than either of the town or the fire company could afford. So she began looking into grants to pay for the equipment. So we reached out to our Senator, Charles Schumer, and Congressman Tim Kennedy. The town supervisor said they pointed us to some available grants, but we either weren't eligible or the deadline had run out. Then, Virtuoso said, she spoke with the members of Governor Kathy Hochul's staff. After that, the governor called her. And she knows the difficult towns face from her time as a town board member in Hamburg, Virtuoso said. And she was able to get us a $2 million grant, which we are so grateful for. It will lift off of everybody's shoulders. So we also have some obituaries in this issue. In memory, we have Park Hill Bennett. I guess he had died in June 25th, 2018. Jonathan Miller, 34th birthday, somebody was thinking of him. And a couple of them put things in for Jonathan Miller, 34 years old. So the White House, in other news, is seeking $87.6 billion for Iran war, U.S. farmers, and Ebola. In Washington, the White House has formally requested $87.6 billion, mostly to replenish the Pentagon after the U.S. war against Iran, submitting the request to Congress at a politically difficult time, as Republicans and Democratic lawmakers have objected to any further military action. The Office of Management and Budget spent the supplemental spending request on Wednesday. It arrived just hours after President Donald Trump assailed Republican senators during a private lunch, engaging in a shouting match with one over their votes to approve a war powers resolution that would halt further hostilities. The request is mostly for expenses incurred by the Defense Department as part of Operation Epic Fury, the U.S.-led attack on Iran, but also included a range of other items, including $11.1 billion toward economic assistance for American farmers, $1.4 billion for the Ebola virus outbreak in Central Africa, and $500 million to support ongoing efforts to complete restoration and construction projects in and around Washington, D.C. I urge Congress to take action on these important and urgent requests as soon as possible, said OMB Director Russ Vought in a letter to House Speaker Mike Johnson. Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer said President Trump is asking taxpayers to clean up his messes to the tune of $87.6 billion. After dragging America to a reckless war, he now wants Congress to hand him tens of billions more to pay for over the damage, while families are still paying higher prices. It's unclear how quickly the House and Senate could act on the White House's request, or if Congress takes up the matter at all. The funding faces a difficult path because many lawmakers could view any vote as a reflection of tests of their support for the war effort. Goodness gracious. So, In brief, the historic Lewiston Church is to celebrate its 250th anniversary. The First Presbyterian Church of Lewiston will salute America's 250th birthday with a community celebration. Lift every voice and sing at 11:15 a.m. on July 5th. The service will feature worship and live music, and a free community coffee hour will follow. The Reverend Carly Beard said, "It is only fitting that historic Lewiston Presbyterian Church, with its rich history of providing worship and community fellowship, is planning this celebration of our nation's 250th birthday. All are welcome to join this joyful service." The church is located at 505 Cayuga Street and is handicapped accessible. Child care will be available for children ages 4 and under, and you're welcome to come. And then the Pendleton Canal Bridge is to close, and Niagara County Department of Public Works offices said the Fisk Road Bridge over the Erie Canal in Pendleton will close on July 6th to continue the rehabilitation project that began last year. So message boards alerting motorists to the upcoming closure are already in place. So at the Buffalo Zoo, as another news, introduces a new capybara, and his name is Mozzarella. The Buffalo Zoo has announced the arrival of a 7-month-old capybara named Mozzarella, who is now on exhibit regularly at M&T Bank Rainforest Falls. Mozzarella was born on November 21st, 25 at the Cape May County Zoo in Middleton Township, New Jersey, and comes to Buffalo on a species survival plan breeding recommendation from the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. It is anticipated that a female capybara will arrive at the Buffalo Zoo in the fall or winter and eventually pair with Mozzarella in hopes that the two can successfully breed. So besides being a little shy at first, Mozzarella is now exploring this new habitat with plenty of curiosity and intrigue. Keepers have observed him interacting with the turtles and birds he shares and his exhibit with, and doing plenty of swimming. Aw, he seems like a nice little capybara. Oh, good for him. In another news, the Red Cross is seeking donors amidst the summer slowdown. Looney Tunes t-shirts to be offered for those who start giving on Monday. The American Red Cross is making an urgent call for blood and platelet donors to book an appointment to give now to ensure hospitals stay ready to help patients without delay. As people get ready for summer adventures and big national festivities, the Red Cross and Warner Brothers Discovery Global Consumer Products are partnering to remind everyone of something important. The need for blood never goes on vacation. Individuals can join our squad to honor the country's 250th anniversary and America's spirit of service by giving blood. All who come to give Monday through July 12th will receive a classic Red Cross X Looney Tunes t-shirt, which supplies last. See Red Cross Blood or Looney Tunes for detail. And then you can book a time to donate blood and platelets now by visiting the Red Cross blood.org, visiting Red Cross, downloading the Red Cross Blood Donor app, or you can call 1-800-RED-CROSS. In another news, the Seneca Niagara announces casino fireworks details. So Independence Day display is to light up downtown on July 2nd. So I guess that already happened. July 2nd was, wait a minute, is that today? It's today. As the region gets ready to celebrate Independence Day, Seneca Resort and Casinos is planning a double dose of holiday fireworks displays for everyone to enjoy. It's on Thursday, the 2nd. A jury convicts a man for beating a woman with a shovel. Oh no, another news. So a 32-year-old Buffalo man faces up to 25 years in prison after he was convicted on Thursday of severely beating his girlfriend last July. Julian Taylor, who was 32 of Buffalo, was found guilty of 1 count of second-degree attempted murder, 1 count of first-degree assault, and 1 count of third-degree criminal possession of a weapon. Jurors rendered their decision after approximately 6 hours of deliberation, following a 2-day trial, convicting Taylor on all counts of the indictment. The incident had occurred on July 31st, 2025, following a verbal dispute with his girlfriend outside their shared residence on Green Street in Buffalo. Taylor hit the victim with his hands until she fell in the driveway. He intentionally caused serious physical injuries and death to the victim by means of a dangerous instrument while she was on the ground by striking her multiple times in the head and body with a shovel before a witness intervened. Taylor was quickly apprehended by a responding police officer, and the victim, a 29-year-old female, was taken by ambulance to Erie County Medical Center, where she remained hospitalized for several weeks to receive treatment for serious physical injuries, including multiple skull fractures and injuries to her arms. Taylor faces a maximum of 25 years in prison when he is sentenced before State Court Judge Deborah Hagendings on August 24th. He remains held without bail. Temporary orders of protection issued on behalf of the victim and a witness remain in effect. And then in other news, but first, we are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Niagara Gazette and the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. So, the Center for Jewish Life is awarded Sacred Sites Granted. A former Temple Beth El Synagogue received $30,000. The Center for Jewish Life's Shabbat, Niagara Falls, USA, on Prospect Street in Niagara Falls, is among 18 historic religious properties throughout the state to receive Sacred Sites grants from the New York Landmarks Conservancy. In the Falls, the Center for Jewish Life is set to receive $20,000 to help fund roof replacement and $10,000 to help fund architectural work for roof masonry and window repair. Originally completed in 1950 for the Synagogue Temple Beth El to the design of local architect Simon Lake, the building currently occupied by Center for Jewish Life is a good representative example of early 20th century neoclassical synagogue architecture and was the first purpose-built synagogue in Niagara Falls. Temple Beth El, the original Reformed synagogue, began in the 1860s and incorporated in 1905. By 1926, Temple Beth El expanded the building to the rear, adding more classrooms to expand a religious school serving the growing community that drew students from areas Orthodox 10th Street and conservative Temple Beth Israel synagogues as well as Reformed Jewish families. So after years of the congregation dwindling, Temple Beth El closed, and the Shabbat Center for Jewish Life Incorporated took over the building in 2024, expanding from the Williamsville location on the outskirts of Buffalo and reopening the only synagogue currently operating in Niagara Falls. And we're going to continue on with the next issue, which will be from Saturday and Sunday, June 27th to 28th. So they have radiological testing underway in Niagara. So a year-long investigation into radiological hotspots found in Niagara and Erie counties have moved to its final phase, requesting permission to access private properties for additional testing. The Niagara Gazette has learned that the property owner access forms has been delivered to dozens of local households by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency as part of the third phase of an ongoing investigation known as the Niagara and Erie County Radiological Assessment. A copy of the form obtained by the Niagara Gazette shows both agencies are seeking permission from recipients to enter their properties to perform initial radiological investigation. The notice indicates the work could include the use of handheld detection equipment, sample collection, and photographic documentation. By signing the access form, affected property owners agree to waive any and all claims they may have now or in the future to seek or receive reimbursement for the DEC or the EPA or the state of New York. The notice acknowledges the EPA has enforcement authority under the Superfund law to carry out activities related to the investigation work. So in other news, under fire, Council Chair says the police alone cannot stop growing gun violence. On Friday night, June 19th, an evening that the seniors in the Niagara Falls High School class of 2026 have waited for a long time. But after the teens left the Niagara Falls Convention Center, an old Wall Street things took a dangerous turn. In the early morning hours of Saturday, June 20th, Falls Police Patrol officers began tracking a group of teens as they moved through the city. The first reports were vandalism in Gluck Park, cars driving on the wet grass, leaving behind deep divots. Let's see what else they're doing. And from there, the cars and teens moved to Legends Park on 11th Street, then to a gathering in the parking lot behind the Calfus School on Beach Avenue. So at 3:20 a.m., police responded to call of shots heard in the area of Central Court. Responding patrol officers found nothing at the scene, no victims, no spent shell casings, and no signs of property damage. Less than an hour later, police dispatchers received a call from Niagara Falls Memorial Medical Center. Doctors in the ER were treating a 17-year-old male with a gunshot wound to his hand. The wound was a graze, not life-threatening. As criminal investigation detectives began an investigation of the shooting, they located a Nissan Armada in the 3300 block alley of Royal Avenue. They found a bullet hole in the driver's side rear door, and the window open was shattered. The vehicle had reportedly been in the area of Center Avenue, and it was hit by gunfire. So as investigators looked for a crime scene on Center Avenue, they found a home at 1505 Central Avenue, where a front window had been hit by gunfire. After the sun came up about 9:20 a.m., officers were sent back to the Center Court neighborhood, where a resident in the 2909 block of Erin Griffin Way told them she had awakened to find that her house had been hit and damaged by gunfire. The officers found a broken front window and a bullet lodged in the wall inside the home. Searching outside the house, investigators located a 7.62 bullet casing in the roadway near the corner of Erin Griffin Way and Camulet Avenue. The particular type of ammunition is most commonly used in an AK-47 semi-automatic rifle. The same rifle is toted by group troops in a number of war zones in the world. So there really was shooting. And in other news, there's a bracelet, a promise, and a friendship that lasted a lifetime. So in Lockport, when American prisoners of war began returning home from Vietnam in 1973 during Operation Homecoming, families across the nation celebrated the return of nearly 600 Americans who had endured years of captivity. Yet for thousands of others, the waiting continued as 2646 loved ones remained listed as missing in action. So more than 50 years later, Lockport woman still carries a powerful reminder of that era. As a teenager during the Vietnam War, Mary Brennan Taylor purchased the POW bracelet. Do you remember those? I think I had one of them. And they had the names of people on them. And this one had the name of Navy Captain James Mulligan, who had been shot down over North Vietnam in March 1966 during his 80th mission. So Mulligan spent nearly 7 years as a prisoner in the notorious prisons dubbed the Hanoi Hilton and Alcatraz by the POWs. Mulligan began his career as a Navy officer in 1944 during World War II as one of the oldest of the POWs being held in the barbaric conditions. Along with 10 other men, Captain Mulligan and his fellow POWs were considered the most defiant of the prisoners of their captors and was subject to nearly 4 years of solitary confinement, starvation, and torture to try to break their spirit. But they remained unbroken until liberation, and they got liberated. So Susan B. Holmes has passed away. I'm sorry about this, as an obituary. She was 84. She was from Ransomville, and she passed away on June 25th. So we got some other news. Kathy Hochul announced $8.5 million for Route 93 work in Niagara County. Constructions began on 2 key roadways in Erie and Niagara counties. The 2 projects totaling more than $17 million, including $8.5 million for the reconstruction and resurfacing of 2.3 lane miles of State Route 93 of the village of Youngstown and the town of Porter, and $8.7 million for the rehabilitation of 3 bridges along Interstate 990 in the town of Amherst. These smart investments will strengthen vital update travel corridors for everyone, businesses, commuters, college students, residents, and visitors alike. The work being done now will make these trips safer and smoother. Very good. So here's a article called "A Meal Worth the Sting" by Colby Gallagher. It's one predator-prey intersection always leaves me torn. Birds sparked my love for the natural world years ago, but after my interest lapsed during adolescence, bees brought me back into the fold. So I found myself slipped between two allegiances in the first time. I watched a bird, in this case a gray catfish, swoop into the garden and snatch a bumblebee on the wing. I long assumed, perhaps simplistically, that birds avoided bumblebees, and honeybees and wasps for that matter, for the simple fact that targeting such stinger-equipped prey was a risky gamble. Well, plus it was the height of summer, and the garden teemed with less formidable insects. So as I watched a catbird steal into the bushes with its meal, two questions came to mind. How often do birds prey on bees and wasps? And how do they avoid a painful jab when swallowing species with stingers? Stinging bees and wasps, like bumblebees and bald-faced hornets, as well as many species that do not sting, like sweat bees, are members of the Hypothermiatha, the scientific order that includes more than 150,000 species of bees, wasps, and ants. We know less than one thing about specific prey items that birds eat. Most of what we know is that birds eat insects or arthropods. Almost all birds that eat flying insects capture them in flight. Well, there you go. My guess is that bees and wasps are usually killed outright in the process, or shortly thereafter when the bird beats them against a solid surface such as a branch. Either way, Bill lengthily likely minimize the chance of being stung. Harley added that even among bees and wasps that sting, many are not capable of piercing human skin, and so may not pose much of a threat to birds either. It's a gamble I'd probably take if I were a hungry bird, he said. Wonder if the bees taste like honey. Okay, we're going to continue on with our last issue, which is on Tuesday, June 30th. So there was a whistleblower who claims that emissions harm community. An environmental whistleblower is charging in a court document that the Goodyear Tire rubber plant in the Falls is willfully harming the local community. The claim is made in a previously filed but since withdrawn federal lawsuit involving New York State Department of Environmental Conservation engineer Dylan Keenan. He was honored Monday by the Sierra Club Niagara Group and the NAACP Niagara Falls branch with their Environmental Justice Hero Award. Okay, and then in other news, Seneca Resort signs on as a founding partner of Highmark Stadium. You know, Highmark Stadium is the new football stadium in Orchard Park. So in Orchard Park, officials from Seneca Resorts and Casinos and the Buffalo Bills announced Monday that the Gaming Corporation has signed on as a founding partner with the team of Highmark Stadium. The multi-year deal will continue Seneca Resorts and Casinos, standing as the official casino of the Buffalo Bills, and built on the long-standing partnership that the organization has developed over the past 20 years. Our Seneca Resorts and Casinos teams knows well the feeling of opening and operating world-class properties that are built for big moments. This is a big moment, said Seneca Resorts and Casino President and CEO Kevin Nephew. There is nothing more exciting than when the Bills are playing. It takes over the whole community. We are proud of the strong partnership Seneca Resorts and Casinos and the Buffalo Bills have built together, and we are looking forward to celebrating many existing moments here in the years to come. Very nice. So the Niagara Hospice is gearing up for their 13th annual Grand Fondo. Riders are sought for August 1st. It's a fundraiser. Niagara Hospice is looking forward to the 13th annual Hospice Grand Fondo bike ride taking place on August 1st. Grand Fondo originates in Italy, where long-distance bike riders are followed by large celebrations. The event starts and ends at the Niagara Hospice campus, located at 4675 Sunset Drive in Lockport. The Hospice Grand Fondo offer rides a choice of a 15, 33, or 62-mile route. Each route features a number of rest stops stocked with refreshments. Following the ride, participants return to the Niagara Hospice campus for the post-race celebration featuring food, drinks, and live music by MJ in the Way. Those who do not participate in the ride may purchase a separate ticket to attend the after party. Now let's look at our community calendar. But first, you're listening to a reading of articles and features from the Niagara Gazette and the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Okay, so the dates ahead is your cataract surgery, lunch and learn from noon to 1. Doors open 11:30. It's free to attend. Enjoy lunch on us and a presentation on the latest advances in cataract surgery by one of our surgeons. It is hosted by Fitch, Endel, and Elmer Eye Care. The event is held at My Tomato Pie at 3035 Niagara Falls Boulevard in Amherst. And that's July 8th. And July 11th, there's Christmas in July. It's the 20th annual gourmet dinner and basket raffle. And you have to present a ticket to gain admission. It's at Our Lady of Fatima Shrine at 1023 Swan Road in Lewiston. And if you want information about it, you can call 716-754-7489. Then Saturday and Sunday, July 25th and 26th, they're having a Sanborn Farm Festival, a tractor parade, car show, Lewiston Police Canine Show, flea market and crafters, kids activities, huge basket raffle, breakfast and more. It's at 2660 Saunders Silliman Road, Route 31 in Sanborn, and that's presented by the Sanborn Area Historical Society. And if you want more information on that, you can call Bonnie at 716-957-4851. And we have one obituary here. That is for Evelyn Shear, who passed away on June 25th. She was from Youngstown. So there's another article. Parents are charged with the murder and death of a 7-year-old who weighed 255 pounds. The parents of a 7-year-old Michigan boy who weighed 255 pounds when he died has been charged with murder, torture, and child abuse. Clearly, the parents were feeding the child improperly, to say the least, Genesee County Prosecutor David Layton said Monday. He wasn't getting the nutrition he needed. Casper O'Brien died last November after first responders were called to the family's home in Flint because he stopped breathing, prosecutors said. His parents, Damien O'Brien, 40, and Jessica O'Brien, 41, have each been charged with second-degree murder, torture, and 3 counts of second-degree child abuse. The couple were arraigned last week and are being held on no bond in jail in Genesee County, about an hour's drive northwest of Detroit. A probable cause hearing is set for Thursday. The child, who is 4 feet 2.5 inches tall, was medically classified as obese, according to the General Genesee County Medical Examiner's report. His cause of death was listed as dilated cardiomyopathy, with his weight being a contributing condition. Dilated cardiomyopathy happens when the heart becomes enlarged and weakened and can't efficiently pump blood, which can affect other body systems, including the lungs. So according to the criminal complaints, the parents failed to take Casper for treatment, even though the family had health care. Elias Fanis, an attorney representing Damien O'Brien, said in a statement that he couldn't speculate on the case's circumstances and had no comment beyond saying that his client was innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. An attorney for Jessica O'Brien did not immediately return a request for comment Monday. Layton said authorities believe Casper just consumed a steady diet of snack food. He said Casper, who was nonverbal and bedridden, had severe bed sores and various rashes. The autopsy report said law enforcement and child protective services reported there were piles of trash in the home and Casper was not enrolled in school. Layton said the hoarding in the home was terrible. One of the child abuse charges related to the couple's 5-year-old daughter, who was placed in foster care. Casper last saw his primary care provider in February of 24, according to the autopsy report, when he was diagnosed with a cough, congestion, and metabolic disease. At that visit, he weighed 104 pounds. His mother was given information on a healthy diet and exercise. According to the report, which said he was referred to a pediatric endocrinologist but never saw one, The report said a metabolic disease wasn't specific and available in medical records. It's a very, very sad and tragic situation, Layton said. I've been the prosecuting attorney for 22 years, and I thought I'd seen it all, and I'd never seen anything quite like this. Okay, because Saturday is going to be the 4th of July, we're going to read an article about the Founding Fathers, 250. So George Washington was a military mind, America's first president, and a leader who had the foresight to step down, setting in motion terms limits for the country's most powerful office. Washington, who had served in the military for the British colonies in America, was appointed Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army on June 15, 1775. The young U.S. military lacked supplies, training, and coercion, and they were going up against the world's foremost military, the British. The revolution was hanging by a thread at Washington boldly crossed the Delaware on Christmas night in 1776. A surprise victory at Trenton reinvigorated the American revolutionaries. In 1781, during the Battle of Yorktown, Washington's troops cornered British General Charles Cornwallis, leading to a surrender and the end of the war. Washington was instrumental in helping America form a more robust government. On April 30th, 1789, after a unanimous vote by the Electoral College, Washington took office as the United States' first president. And after 2 terms, Washington voluntarily departed the office, warning against political factions and foreign entanglements. Then you had John Adams, who was the second president of the United States. He was one of the fiercest advocates for the country's independence. Adams nominated Washington to lead the Continental Army, and as member of the Committee of 5 tasked with composing the Declaration of Independence, he helped to edit the words written by Thomas Jefferson, then defended them line by line in the Continental Congress. He wasn't present for the Constitutional Convention, but his previous political writings greatly influenced the document. Adams served as vice president to Washington, then defeated Jefferson in 1796 to become president. So Thomas Jefferson in 1774, he published a summary view of the rights of a British American. The document asserted the colony's right to self-govern, paving the way for his selection in 1776 at age 33 to write what would become the Declaration of Independence, which demanded the end of the king's wrongs against the colony, such as unfair taxes and quartering troops, and declared all men are created equal. Secretary of State under Washington, Jefferson nearly lost the presidential election in 1796, but became vice president. In 1800, Jefferson tied with Aaron Burr for president. Alexander Hamilton's support broke the deadlock, and Jefferson took his office in 1801. So James Madison, his health was often poor, but it didn't stop him from being a valuable contributor to the revolutionary cause. Madison joined the Continental Congress in 1780 and started pushing for more order by 1783. In 1787, delegates gathered in Philadelphia to reshape the republic, and Madison proposed Virginia Plan, a national government grounded in popular representation with 3 co-equal branches to check each other. He took extensive notes as the Constitution was written. The final document bore his design and his voice. In 1809, Madison succeeded Jefferson as president, and 3 years later. Then there was Alexander Hamilton, born an illegitimate child in the Caribbean and orphaned at age 13. Hamilton overcame the adversary to become a brilliant revolutionary mind who joined the New York militia at age 20 and advanced to become General George Washington's lieutenant colonel. He resigned the position in 1781 to take battlefield command and led a key assault on the siege of Yorktown. Hamilton believed in a strong government, writing most of the Federalist Papers, defending the U.S. Constitution. Washington named him the nation's first Secretary of the U.S. Treasury. Then you had Benjamin Franklin, who was a writer and inventor and statesman. Franklin was the only founding father to sign all 4 key documents that led to the formation of the United States: the Declaration of Independence, the Treaty of Alliance with France, the Peace Treaty with Great Britain in 1783, and the United States Constitution. One of America's greatest minds, Franklin invented the Franklin stove, a metal fireplace designed to heat homes more effectively, the lightning rod, a simple yet revolutionary safeguard, and bifocals to ease aging eyes. So then there was John Jay. He descended from one of New York's oldest Dutch families and was taught at home by private tutors, his mind gravitating toward the law. Despite wanting to avoid war, Jay saw the Stamp Act, the Quartering Act, and the intolerable acts as British overreach, drafting addresses pleading for reconciliation. He attended the First Continental Congress, was elected of that body in 1778, and became Secretary of Foreign Affairs in 1784. Washington named Jay as America's first Chief Justice in 1789, and he went on to help establish the federal court system through the Judiciary Act of 1789. So, did you know that most of the Founding Fathers were young men, often viewed as old men with white wigs and false teeth? Many were quite young when they helped create the country. George Washington was 43 years old when he accepted command of the American Army during the war. Thomas Jefferson was 33 years old when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. John Adams was 40 when he argued for American independence. James Madison was 36 when he was at the Constitutional Convention. John Jay was 43 when he became the first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Alexander Hamilton was 33 years old when he was made Secretary of the Treasury. And the oldest was Benjamin Franklin, who was 70 years old at the Second Continental Congress. So, Founding Fathers and Presidents Jefferson and Adams died on America's 50th anniversary. Thomas Jefferson and John Adams were friends, then political enemies, but by the end of long distinguished careers, they maintained steady correspondence. So on July 4th, 1826, Adams' last words were, "Thomas Jefferson still lives," not knowing that Jefferson had died earlier that day in Virginia. Jefferson's last words, "Is it the 4th? I resign my spirit to God, my daughter, and my country." President James Monroe also died on July 4th in 1831, 5 years after Jefferson and Adams. So U.S. General and future President George Washington had experienced in the British military, advancing to the position of Reverend Brigadier General. But Washington had little experience leading a large force such as the Continental Army. The army also was filled with colonists, not professional fighters. Despite losing more battles than he won, Washington's resilience, determination, and long-term strategy won the day for the U.S. Hamilton, as Washington's aide, wrote about Washington's plan. He said, "Our hopes are not placed in any particular city or spot of ground, but in preserving a good army to take advantage of favorable opportunities and ways to defeat the enemy by piecemeal." And in other news, there's Russian Revolutionary War artifacts were uncovered in Fort Ticonderoga as part of its ongoing evacuation and study of the famous Liberty Hill site, and just in time for the nation's 250th anniversary of independence, Fort Ticonderoga has announced the discovery, documentation, and preservation of over 500 new artifacts at Liberty Hill. The artifacts range from musket parts and personal effects to actual regimental coat buttons for Northern Continental Army soldiers who spent time at Fort Ticonderoga in 1776. You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the current issues of the Niagara Gazette. We read from the Niagara Gazette every Saturday at 11 a.m. Your reader has been Marge Lover. I thank you for listening, and I hope you all have a good 4th of July.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have a reading of the Dunkirk Observer. Following that at 1 o'clock, we have a reading of some of our Northtown Bee papers, including Amherst, Clarence, Cheektowaga, Lancaster, and Depew. And then at 2 o'clock, we have the Southtown Bees, which includes Orchard Park, the Hamburg Sun, the East Aurora, and West Seneca papers. Stay with us for these readings and more. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Radio Reading broadcasts daily readings, 24 hours a day, of newspapers, magazines, and books to people who are blind or have a print disability and are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. From broadcast studios at 1199 Harlem Road, Radio Reading continues our almost 40-year tradition of award-winning service. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call 716-821-5555. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability